If you're a Souls player trying to get into Monster Hunter, there is a good chance that you've tried the game and dropped it before. I know I did, not because it was too hard or too complicated, but because I was trying to play Monster Hunter like Dark Souls, and it just felt bad. Honestly, that's probably the biggest mistake that most new players make. The weird thing is that Monster Hunter and the Souls games seem to have a lot in common, but in reality they play completely differently. And once I stopped trying to force Monster Hunter to be like Dark Souls, the entire game clicked. So if you've tried Monster Hunter before and couldn't get into it, or you're thinking about trying Wilds for the first time, here's everything that I wish someone had explained to me when I started. Monster Hunter isn't built around rolling through attacks with iframes. It's built around positioning around the attacks, especially the big attacks, charge attacks, and attacks that cover a huge area. If you come from Souls games, you're definitely used to timing your dodge at the last possible second and rolling through everything. Monster Hunter generally doesn't want you to play like that. Instead, it wants you to stand in the right place before the attack happens, or run to the right place. Now, there are iframes, and you can roll through attacks. Just keep in mind that the game isn't built around you doing this constantly. If you do ever feel like you need a lot of iframes, there is actually something you can do. Two things, technically. One is equip a skill that increases how many iframes you have, but we'll talk about skills later. The other is to use a dive. If you hold the run button, move away from the monster, and press dodge, your character will do a Superman dive. This move has an absurd amount of invulnerability. It's one of the strongest defensive tools in the entire game. It doesn't feel nearly as cool as a perfectly timed dodge, but as you get into Monster Hunter, you will use this move constantly. It's also why I recommend running by holding down the run button rather than clicking in the stick if you're playing on a controller. While you can't play the game rolling like it's Souls, you can play the newest Monster Hunter game, Wilds, like it's Sekiro. They added a perfect guard mechanic, so if you're using a weapon that can block and you block right before you get hit, you will take practically zero damage and be in a great position to counterattack the monster. Just know that older Monster Hunters didn't work this way. Blocking used to require a lot more investment and specific builds before it would become this strong. Still, I mention this because if you find that the dodging playstyle isn't for you, maybe try a weapon with a shield because it makes the gameplay completely differently. Speaking of differences, you can't level up in Monster Hunter, but you do get stronger, just not in the way that you do in Souls games. Your power comes almost entirely from your gear. When you kill monsters, you use their materials to craft stronger armor, stronger weapons, and better drip. And trust me, the defense difference between armor sets is massive. Here's me fighting a monster with no armor on, a low rank one, and here's me fighting the same monster with my endgame armor. It's a huge difference. Your stats all come from your equipment, and more importantly, from your build. Another big difference is that Monster Hunter starts off pretty easy. And I think that throws a lot of Souls players off. It feels like the game is holding back. That's because it is. The early game is there to let you learn your weapon and understand the systems. Don't mistake that for the entire experience. There is absolutely endgame challenge waiting for you later. In fact, the previous game, Monster Hunter World, has the hardest final boss that I have ever fought, bar none. And yes, that includes Radahn. I just feel like this is really important to bring up, because if your biggest problem with the game is that it feels too easy, I'd recommend sticking it out for another few hours. The story mode is relatively short if you just rush through it. Alright, let's talk briefly about skills. Every armor set will come with its own set of skills, and later on you can also put decorations on them. Decorations will add skills to an armor, and this is how you make builds. Skills have multiple levels, and at max level they usually get a different effect. What this means is it can be worth coming back to a weapon later on because you got a skill for it that made it feel a lot better. Like if you don't like the greatsword because it's so slow to put it away, maybe give it a try with the quick sheath skill. Finally, let's talk about the weapons, because these work nothing like the Souls games. Rather than thinking of the weapon you choose as a weapon, it may help to think of it more like a class. A greatsword is super slow but can tank through attacks, block, and hits really hard. The dual blades are like playing a glass cannon dex build that's extremely reliant on dodging. The guns are guns, and I'd honestly recommend just not touching them unless you're the type of person who enjoys managing your inventory. What I'm saying is, the weapon you pick will completely change how the game feels to play. They are not only incredibly complex and deep in terms of moveset, but every single one has some sort of gimmick or effect that you need to know in order to use it well. So before you judge the game at all, if you don't like how it plays, I recommend looking up a full guide for whatever weapon you're trying to use. I'd recommend the YouTuber JoeCat to start, because these guides are entertaining but also quick, and he tells you exactly what buttons you need to press for your best moves. I promise you'll learn something cool. But more importantly, understanding how you're supposed to use a weapon will make the entire game just feel better. For the easiest example, let's look at the greatsword. Most players will see a giant sword and think, okay, I just hit things. But the weapon actually revolves around charged attacks and landing its strongest move, the true charge slash. It can also shoulder tackle through attacks using super armor, reducing the damage you take while letting you continue the offense. In exchange for hitting the hardest in the game, it's slow as hell for anyone who's used to other action games. If you're stuck charging, you're basically guaranteed to get hit. It's an entire playstyle. For someone just getting started, I would recommend the sword and shield, longsword, bow, or dual blades. All of these weapons play in a way that will feel familiar to you if you like action games. But ultimately, use whatever you think is cool. Every weapon is viable, so really just pick one and learn it. Other than that, make sure you grab items while you ride around the world. The biggest one is honey, which lets you craft mega potions. If crafting really isn't your thing, you can mostly ignore it, but honey is a must. Later in the game, you'll unlock people who can gather materials for you. Just tell them to collect honey and you'll basically never run out of mega potions again. Also remember to eat. It gives you more max health, more max stamina, and extra buffs. Do it before every hunt. I'd say the main thing to understand is that while Monster Hunter has a ton of systems, you don't have to engage with all of them immediately. Eventually, you'll probably enjoy making builds, you'll understand crafting, and you'll learn multiple weapons. But when you're first getting into the game, focus on what you find fun. Learn how the game wants you to play. The depth is incredible once you're already enjoying the core gameplay. But I still remember how overwhelming it felt when I was just trying to find a weapon I liked. In short, find a weapon that feels cool, kill some monsters, don't try to roll through charged attacks, and let the rest come naturally. And that is my video on Monster Hunter. My second ever highly edited one, the first being an April Fool's video that I released like 2 years ago. I've played this game a lot, and recently I have gotten back into it because the way Monster Hunter works is they give a bunch of free updates as the game goes on, adding new monsters and eventually a final boss, and I didn't really feel like endlessly grinding until all of the content was out. Well, now it is. Eventually there will be a DLC for this game that, if it's anything like World, will basically be a whole new game, but for now, this is a complete game with lots of very hard endgame challenge that I've been enjoying lately, and I hope others can too. As always, thank you for watching. Please like the video if you liked the video, subscribe if you'd like to stay around, and until next time, see ya.